We are live, or at least we should be. Welcome to the LSR 90 Minutes of the Nürburgring. I am your host, Joe 90. We have Samppa here on co-commentary with me today for the first time. We also have Husky in the party, acting as an interim communicator between myself and drivers for the purpose of race direction. Although you are unlikely to hear him unless something drastic happens. We are about a minute away from starting the qualifying session for the 90 Minutes of the Nürburgring for the LMP1 cars. We currently have 7 cars lined up for qualifying, with an 8th waiting to join because the driver has had a power outage and will not be qualifying and will be starting at the back of his class. With that said, I'm going to now tell the drivers that it is time to start the qualifying session, because they've had their 5 minutes.
Yes, hello, Samppa here. Will be interesting to see what happens in the qualifying here. So, yeah, looks like we have a bunch of Group 1 cars here, so Audis and Porsches.
Yeah, after last week's qualifying session at Daytona, which was rather hectic with multiple drivers grabbing pole at different points, this really could be an interesting qualifying session. WSR at their home event, and the first car out of the pit lane is Alvarado in the BNR 919. Following Alvarado out is Maynard in the Muppet Racing 919, followed by Tim Grin in the other Muppet Racing 919. And that is our missing driver, who's just joined the lobby. Unfortunately, where he is running late, he will now not be qualifying and will be starting at the back of LMP. WSR squishy after a fantastic race at Daytona, just coming down to the hairpin on his outlap. All of these drivers really bunched up at the moment. The big question here today, really, with this being Porsche versus Audi once again, is who will come out on top, because last race at Daytona we saw a Porsche win, followed by another Porsche. In fact, it was a Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was somebody off in the gravel. That is Bolden in the Nexus 919, quite deep into the gravel on the runoff there. Presumably some oversteer on that car. He's just trying to clean the tyres. The question really is now, as people come through to start setting their fast laps, who will be on pole in a little under 12 minutes time. Maynard starting his fast lap now, coming down to the first corner, hard on the brakes, cranking the steering wheel all the way over to the right, turning 180 degrees back on himself, then all the way back over to the left again, coming smoothly down towards turn 3 and turn 4 of the GP loop.
Yeah, from what you said about the previous race, I do wonder if Polyphony has done anything about the Group 1 balance of performance. Like, that sounds like the way it's been from the start in this game, that Porsche 919 is the car to be in Group 1 on technical tracks. So,
I believe after the recent 1.50 update that they brought the 919 and the R18 especially a lot closer in terms of their BOP, especially with the way they both discharge their hybrid systems. That was the main thing that brought the race so close together 2 weeks ago at Daytona.
Okay, that sounds good. I also hope, I don't know if the Toyota is available for this league, but I do hope they would also fix that car, because it should be technically in the same specifications back in the day. It
is available, I believe. However, I am not sure whether anybody has taken it or not on the current grid, as I believe the only driver that had taken the my apologies, the TS05i, the Toyota, has elected to swap to GTD cars.
Okay, I see.
Maynard is now just rounding out the final corner, a little bit into the grass there. 1:41.7 the first lap set. Alvarez just coming across the line, 1:43.1. Timgren across the line, another strong performance, 1:40.8. Squishy across the line, 1:42.2. Natty coming across the line, 1:43.3. Big Mac yet to set a lap here, coming round the final corner onto that curb on the left, and across the line a 1:45.2. That is not ideal for Big Mac in the WSR R18.
Yeah, just to clarify, so is this like I see we only have 7 drivers, so these all are gonna make it to the race, or?
Yes, all the drivers you see in this qualifying session will make it to the race. Natty currently 6.5 tenths up through the first sector. The 919 he's driving certainly coming alive right now. In the wake of the round at Daytona as well, we've seen a flurry of team changes. Natty swapping from Nova to P1 with a new entry in their 919. A rather bright pink and purple design, it has to be said, although it certainly seems to be fast enough.
Yeah, looks like he's up by over 8 tenths, so this should be a massive improvement so far.
Interestingly, Tim Gwynn is choosing to take a pit stop and change tyres. Natty just rounding the final corner, Squishy just going across the line, no improvement for Squishy. 1/2 tenth improvement for Natty. There was a small moment there in the final corner and he exits to the pit lane and comes back out again. Alvarez deep at turn 2, just slightly on the runoff there, coming through turn 4, slight moment of oversteer in the car there as well. That car not looking at all settled through that section of the track. Squishy a 10th up on his first sector.
Yeah, also half-second penalty for Alvarez. He went a little bit past track limits.
It seems a lot of
Squishy did the
people
same
have
thing.
picked up track limits penalties so far. Squishy has just grabbed himself a 1 second penalty. Alvarez has grabbed a 1/2 second penalty.
I probably think Squishy picked the penalty at a similar spot as Alvarez. So I wonder if they've realized that the game has fixed the all track limits where it used to be run. Was it T5 or T6, like way over white lines, and wouldn't get a penalty?
T2 and T3 on the GP circuit before the last patch, you used to be able to run 4 wheels off the circuit on the curb there, and I believe also at T4 on the exit you could also run 4 wheels off the circuit there. However, at T4 you have pretty much always been allowed to do that, but it's interesting to see that it's been seemingly adjusted for the corner at turn 3. And sorry, my apologies, between turn 2 and 3.
Yeah, the track
Natty's slow on the left there. That is interesting because Big Mac has nearly just had contact with Natty there.
I think that's just fair enough, but it was kind of close. But he gave him all the space, so I think he maybe wanted to be cheeky and use a little bit of the slipstream there. So. Because you should have seen it clearly there, it wasn't a blind spot and it was way off racing line going slow, so...
Yeah. The interesting thing here as well is the fact that the LMP cars, apart from 1 or 2, appear to have chosen to run in a large pack, which it seems to be working for Squishy at least, but it could impact other cars' performance on their fast laps due to the traffic and having dirty air. Somebody else in the background there had a track limits penalty. Alvarez with another track limits penalty.
Yeah, I have to say it's maybe not the best strategy you want to be going for here, because you'll be affected by dirt. You'll be affected by dirty air, so yeah.
Maynard also for Muppet Racing with a track limits penalty of 1/2 second as well. The real question for me here is, at what point will these drivers start really going for it? Because they seem to be testing the limits and just trying to find where the limit is at the moment. And I think we've not seen the fastest lap so far yet.
That's possible, although at least the top 3 looks to have decent laps so far.
And there it is, Timgren improves by a 10th on his fastest lap, a 140.7. Maynard just running slightly deep between turn 2 and turn 3 again. Could that be another track limits penalty? And running deep again at turn 4, perhaps. Is it possible that he has just found the limit and is going to start improving on this lap?
Well, he already lost almost 2 tenths in the first sector, but possibly if he does well the rest of the lap, he could have a small improvement.
But he's nearly 3 tenths down on his second sector. That is not a good sign.
Okay, if that's the case, then it's gonna be actually tough, so yeah.
The question really now is who's going to grab second, because Maynard and Bolden are split by about a 10th and a half at most. Squishy is about 1 second behind, but I know that car has more speed in it than what the lap time he is currently on says it has. Alvarado just coming across the line. He's down by 10 seconds on his fastest lap. Clearly not an ideal lap that time around for Alvarado. And
yeah, also I think Gren is in the pits.
Alvarado improving by about a second and a half on his previous best lap time.
Yeah, also I think Gren is in the pits again. I do wonder if the tires wear out rather quickly here, and if you want to change them like after you've done a fast lap. I wonder that. He's already been twice in the pits.
Well, Maynard grabbing another half-second penalty there. It seems like the tyres do wear quickly, but they're wearing at a similar rate to what we saw at Daytona 2 weeks ago. They're not quite wearing as unevenly as at Daytona, but they are wearing at about the same sort of rate. We currently have 2 cars circling with track limit penalties.
Yeah, but for qualifying you always want the top grip, so even if you lose a little bit of grip, it's actually going to affect it massively, because to go for the absolute fastest laps you need to have everything that the tire can provide. So yeah, it's even a few laps could make all the difference in the tire life to be able to post fast laps. Especially I think around this track, because there's quite a few corners and a lot of them are also slow speed, which in these cars requires more mechanical grips. So certainly if you have slightly too much tire wear, it's gonna hinder your chances to do big improvements.
Yeah. Alvarado's improving to a 142.8. That puts him 2.5 tenths behind Natty at the moment. The question is really, can he find more time as he slides again through turn 1? That 919 clearly not cooperating with him today. Squishy is still out by nearly a second to Bolden in front of him on lap time as well. It's not the ideal outcome for the WSR driver here at his home event.
Yeah, I think he can perhaps go a little bit faster, so. But we'll see. He has a chance on this lap.
Well, he's just over half a tenth up at the Sector 2 line, and he seems to be really starting to push this car now. We are 13 minutes, nearly 14 minutes through this session, so drivers really only have one more opportunity to set a fast lap. Squishy now nearly 3 tenths up on his previous best lap. Now hard on the brakes for the final chicane.
For now he maybe won't go to third unless he's had poor last sectors, but at least he'll improve his own time. Possibly.
Well, I think his lap may just have been invalidated. He has a half a second penalty. And he dropped 3.5 tenths in the final sector. He dropped down to nearly a tenth slower than his fastest lap.
Yeah, that last sector really isn't easy with that technical chicane, so you have to be very precise to get it together there, because the car will move around a little bit going over the curbs.
Well, with how low these LMP1 cars ride as well, the raised curbs on the inside of that chicane are going to be doing no favours for these drivers coming through there.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So yeah, unfortunately also for our Squishy, he picked the penalty in the wrong position, and the way this game works is if you can't show the slowdown penalty on the previous lap, you show it on the next one. So with that mistake he also invalidated his next lap, unfortunately. Because I think the penalty serving zone is on the back straight, but he must have picked the penalty perhaps in the chicane, so
Timgren appears to have nose and suspension damage on his 919. I'm not sure whether he's made contact with a wall or another driver, but that car is definitely in no fit state to finish a fast lap now. The question really is, can Maynard, his teammate, improve enough on his final lap to snatch pole away? And he's coming through the final corner now. He's going to be the first car to the line at the end of this session. Can he grab pole? Yes, he does. By a 100th of a second.
Yeah, that's well done. Very small margins here for the top two.
It's to be expected. The Muppet Racing cars were incredibly quick last time out at Daytona. It's very interesting as we see Natty improve marginally over Squishy at the end of the session there. It's very interesting to see how some of these cars improve, and that's Alvarado spinning at the final, at the bottom of the track at the hairpin. Not an ideal qualifying session today for him.
Yeah, so didn't watch the previous race, so how was the qualifying there? Like, is it somewhere in the region of this, or?
Marginally more chaotic, it has to be said. The qualifying at Daytona tends to be like that though, because, well, the track produces slightly closer racing than this track, where you've got longer sections of high speed. The GP circuit of the Nürburgring is a little bit more technical than the Daytona road course, and obviously as well with more corners that are more technical and with more elevation changes as well. You really do see drivers trying different things to find lap time here, especially considering the fact that with how technical this circuit is, you're ending up in a position where drivers can set a fantastic lap, but can also at the same time set a horrible lap and not particularly understand what went wrong, just simply due to the different level of complexity to this circuit. And now, with that being said and done, that is LMP1 qualifying done.
Yeah, that's a rather technical track for these cars, so yeah, the cars don't really work properly with their dynamics in the low speed corners, but yeah, it's a different challenge for sure.
Yeah. And at this time I would like to invite Husky, who is in here with us, who is our communicator between ourselves and the drivers, to inform the GT drivers that it is time for them to come into the lobby and to start their qualifying session and warm up.
Right, so the way this works, do we have the GT drivers now in the same lobby, I assume? Or?
Yeah, so the way this works is the LMP drivers will all clear out of the lobby. The GT drivers will all come in, they will all qualify separately to one another, so that there's no issues with traffic or anything like that. The GT drivers obviously have been briefed on where the restart zone is, although it affects them significantly less than it affects the LMP1 drivers. Someone in chat asking a question there. Didn't see who that was. I'll have to go to the stream on my phone a moment and see who was in the chat asking about joining the GT lobby.
Right, so far looks like to be a very German qualifying in terms of cars. There's some Porsches and Mercedes going to be in this qualifying.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those qualifying sessions, I believe, where with the mixture of cars that we do have in GT3, quite a few Porsches, quite a few Mercedes, I believe there is some Audis as well to be expected. It's quite a German lineup of cars, it has to be said, but the cars should all be quite close to one another. Right, and we have 6 GT3 cars in this lobby. That with the 8 LMP1 cars makes 14. So Samppa, you should, once GT3 qualifying is done, have a space in the lobby to be able to join in and be a second set of eyes for me.
Okay, that sounds good. There will be no delay in that case. So
yeah. Certainly makes things a lot easier. Right, Husky, if you can hear us all, would you mind informing the GTD drivers that they've got about 3 minutes for warming up, so they'll get about 2 laps of warm up and then we'll be starting qualifying. So, when the GT3 cars have qualified, we will go through a lobby reset. I believe a 7th GT3 car has just joined. Somebody is joining. That is Outcast. Right, we need all of the GT3 cars to be on the track now and ready to go. And that makes it 3 Mercedes AMG GTs, 3 911 RSRs, and a singular Lamborghini Huracan for this GT3 qualifying session.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting choice with the Lamborghini here. It's gonna be a little little bit tricky car to master, I think, in the chicane, but other than that, it should be alright.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this pans out. The Nexus GT3 911s are currently doing their warm-up, as is the Nova Lamborghini Huracan and the two Spider AMG GTs, as well as the Outcast Esports AMG GT driven by Outcast. Johto, the leader of Nexus, just coming down through the S section down to the bottom of the track here. This is his second round in the series, as is many drivers' second round. Unfortunately, he did not finish in the first round due to a disconnect from the server. Right, and the drivers have had their 3 minutes to warm up, so it is time to start the qualifying session for GT3. Now this could be quite an interesting session because of the distinct mixture of cars we've got. We have 4 mid-engined cars, 3 front-engined cars. All of these GT3 cars are rear-wheel drive, so that is not a factor. However, they all have different engines. The Porsches have flat sixes, naturally aspirated. The Mercedes have V8s that are naturally aspirated. JDC, the first car onto the track here, followed promptly by Johto and Husky, the league owner. Oreo back on track as well, sporting a fresh paint job. This could be very close here. Daytona, between a lot of these cars, was an incredibly close qualifying session. However, like we said in the LMP1 qualifying session, it was a less complex track to race on.
Yeah, I feel like this is also a typical combination for these cars, so barring any huge driver level differences, could be also a fairly close qualifying this one.
Yes, obviously as well with GT3 cars, they do run balance of performance that brings them significantly closer. The Gran Turismo 7 BOP, or balance of performance system, for GT3 cars is a little bit more refined than for the LMP1 cars, just due to the nature of the complexity of the vehicle. Rear wheel drive, no hybrid system, and as we see a big slide for Johto there on his outback, that's one way of getting heat into the tyres for sure, although probably not the one I would choose under these circumstances. Coming up to the final chicane, it will be JDC in the Spider AMG GT, last round's winner in the GTD class, coming up to the line first to start his first flying lap. Sporting a slight crossover livery this week between Mercedes Formula 1 car and the more typical, slightly brighter Spider GT colours. This really could be a close session because we have AMGs and Porsches, which historically are incredibly fast GT3 cars around this circuit. JDC just coming down through turn 3 and turn 4. Will he take the same line as the LMP drivers on the exit? Not quite. He chooses a slightly shallower exit line out through turn 4. Johto following incredibly close behind. Vipers in the other AMG GT for Spider following those, followed very closely by Oreo in the other 911 RSR GTD car. He appears to have had some sort of damage to the rear of that car on his outlap. There's a slight dent in one of the panels.
Yeah, but because we are running it on light damage, it probably got fixed. possibly before he started this lap. So yeah.
It is entirely possible, yeah. Vipers choosing to use the runoff there for a moment just to get out of people's way. An interesting decision, it has to be said, because that's going to allow Husky to come past, and it's also going to significantly slow down his first flying lap here.
Well, I don't think he lost too much time there, realistically, so I think it's fine. Space was given as well, so. But yeah, this is the thing with this pack qualifying, that if you're close in a pack and you're not up to speed, you're gonna be possibly in other people's way, so you should really try to move over if you made a mistake on your lap, so that you're not impeding other laps.
Once again, we are seeing an incredibly close qualifying session. Johto and JDC split by 0.5 tenth of a second. Husky within 0.4 of those cars, followed very closely by Outcast, 0.7 behind them. Roxy, the Nova Lamborghini driver, about 3.5 behind Outcast, about 1.5 seconds from Johto. Oreo, about 2.5 seconds from Roxy, clearly not an ideal first lap here. And Vipers, the other Spider GT AMG, 9 seconds off. However, he did run quite deep at the top of the Schumacher S into that tarmac runoff area.
Yeah, and I also assume Oreo and P6 probably made some kind of a mistake to drop back that severely, so we've yet to see what these two drivers can do.
There we are, Vipers 0.5 second up on his first 2 sectors. We will see very shortly as he comes through this next sector, the line for sector 3, just how that car's performing, because this will be the true litmus test of just how fast that AMG is relative to his teammate. And he is 5 seconds up. That is not quite enough to catch Johto. In fact, that's only just enough to put him P6. Johto improves marginally by 0.3. Sat quite happily in JDC's slipstream, I have to admit. Drivers obviously are allowed to take slipstream for whoever they want during these qualifying sessions, and that's clearly playing a factor here.
But it's also playing a factor with this track having quite a few corners that you might run into some dirty air as well, so it's I certainly think on this track it might not be worth to have slipstream. I guess it was different for Daytona, but on this track I myself would maybe prefer to be in a space of my own. So.
I have to say, it is very interesting, this current qualifying session. Roxy has just put a lap time in of a 1:57.5. It's about 1.4 seconds slower than the current fastest lap. However, there is still quite a lot of room for improvement, especially if they can grab a slipstream, as it seems that the top 3 have all set laps using slipstream to some degree.
Yeah, and if I see Roxy correctly, that P should mark that he served a penalty actually, so based on that he could be able to go maybe quite a bit faster. So
now that is quite painful for Husky, it has to be said. He went into pit lane last lap and he now has a 3-second penalty, presumably for cutting the pit lane lines. A huge squirm there out of that 911, coming down to the hairpin at the very bottom of the circuit.
Yeah, luckily he'll be able to serve that penalty on this lap, so, and it's an out lap, so yeah, it's not optimal, but it's probably won't matter too much.
It's not suboptimal either. It is kind of, if you're a driver in this position, it's kind of, it is what it is at this point. If I was in Husky's position, like, you know, you've got the penalty and you can serve it on your out lap, and in fact he is going to serve it on his out lap. However, it just kind of, you know, if you allow it to ruin your rhythm a little bit too much or get in your head a little bit too much that you got a penalty, it can really ruin your chances of qualifying well. You've just got to kind of allow the penalty to be and to get on with it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I feel like it's more of a factor in the race because those penalties can really cost you a lot in terms of track position and time. So it's because it's not only 3 seconds, it's actually a little bit more with it being a slowdown penalty. So it's probably more like 4 or 5 seconds, I reckon, this track. So yeah, it's certainly something to avoid in the race.
The other thing to note as well is the fact that these drivers are all currently within about 3 seconds of each other, which is quite close on this circuit, especially with how technical it is. More importantly, however, the top 3 are all within a second of each other. And interestingly, 2 of the top 3 cars are Porsches. This is important because Oreo in P6, the other Porsche on this track, if he were to improve by 2 places, would mean that 3 of the top four qualified cars currently are in fact 911 RSRs. The important thing here now though, if I was a driver, is I'd start looking at that clock in the bottom left, thinking, you know, oh, I've got 6 minutes left, 5 and a bit minutes left. You know, as a driver, you're constantly in these qualifying sessions looking at the clock thinking, how long have I got left? Can I get another lap out of this? Do I have to pit for tyres? You know, do I need fuel? And there's a lot to think about for these drivers at this point. Oreo just driving around, probably wondering what that mysterious ticking noise is, as he seems to have left an indicator on. That being said, it is rather interesting the fact that none of the drivers seem to be improving all that far currently. Husky just coming round the final corner now and across the line. He doesn't improve on his fastest lap. In fact, he was nearly a 10th down on his fastest lap so far. JDC coming down through the second sector, just shy of half a 10th down on his first sector. Johto with a half-second penalty on the first sector. This really could tighten things up towards the end of this session in about 4.5 minutes time guide.
Yeah, he'll have to show that penalty again on the back straight, so he'll probably drop away from any slipstream race he might have here for now. So.
The other critical thing here as well, obviously, is the fact that with these cars being so close, that if you can grab a slipstream, it really does boost your lap time significantly, as we've seen Johto do. However, Johto, having just served a 1 second penalty, is going to have lost that vital slipstream to JDC that has put him on pole position, and it might mean that he now has to face the possibility of other cars getting within half a 10th, maybe less of his lap time, as we saw in the LMP1 qualifying as well. The interesting thing here is that because of the differences between cars and because of the BOP more than anything, the differences in where these cars make lap time, as we see Husky go to P2 going to a 56.4 and just under 3/4 of a 10th faster than JDC. JDC is not going to be happy about this, and he's going to be even less happy about that. A 1 second track limit penalty while he's on a fast lap. That is not what you would want to see as a driver. And not only is that not ideal for JDC as a driver, it also brings Johto right back within that vital slipstream window.
Yeah, but as I say, I suspect it's really a ±0 with the slipstream on this track, and I'd even argue it's a slight disadvantage because you'll have some dirty air, but it's his call obviously to do to be close enough to the car in front if he wants to. So yeah, it's, as long as he doesn't impede the other car, it's absolutely fine. So. Right, so we have JDC here, he's gonna serve his penalty, and then looking at the timer, I think all the drivers have time for one more time lap, so that's probably what we're gonna get here. Possibly there's driver or two that might not get a final lap here, but yeah, so we could still see some swings here in the back.
That is a big slide for Vipers, and that is a half-second penalty as well for him. That is really not ideal, because that penalty has been added so close to the penalty line he has to serve it on his final lap. And in fact, Vipers elects to go to the pit lane as we only have 30 seconds left on the clock. He will be starting P7 now.
Yeah, it's understandable. He couldn't really wait. Would have required a lot to improve with that penalty serve, because essentially you lose around 1 second, or at least close to that.
Now we're in a position where the top 5 are all within a second of each other. Roxy now within just over 9/10 of a second to P1. With 1 lap left. No laps left, in fact, the timer has run out.
Yeah, they have not really. Well, there's an alright lap, so, but yeah, that's only for P5, unfortunately. So they'll finish now. And by the way, if I saw correctly, I think Giotto has a half-second track limit penalty for this lap, so he will not be improving there in P1.
Yeah, you are in fact right there. He is at a half-second penalty, and he will not be improving. The big question now is with JDC, can he improve enough? 6 thousandths up at the Sector 3 line. That is not enough at the moment.
No, but if he has a fantastic last sector, he could possibly improve into P2, because that's well within a bit of a range, because it's less than a tenth. So we'll see what he can do here. It looks tidy enough. So
rounding
we'll see.
The final corner, it's pretty tidy, little bit wide over the curb, and he doesn't improve. 0.18 down on his fastest lap. That is really not what you'd want to see if you were JDC right now.
Yeah, that last sector looks to be a tricky one to get correct every time. It feels like you can get it correct maybe once or twice, but then getting correct for every time lap seems to be a bit of a challenge for both car classes, from what I have seen so far.
It certainly looks that way at the moment.
It's less of a thing in the race. It's not gonna matter too much if you lose a little bit of time there, but it's in qualifying, if you're gonna lose 1 or 2 tenths from time to time, it's not really helpful if you want to get everything out in the qualifying.
Interestingly, it is a 1-2 for N3XUS Racing in this qualifying session with the 911 RSR. The first time they've had 2 cars in the GTD class here for the start of since the start of the season. Round 1 was rather disappointing for Giotto. He only had the 1 car, and that was his car, and he failed to finish. However, it has to be said, if you look at the work they've done here, getting a 1-2 relatively comfortably, especially on quite a technical track compared to some of the tracks we're going to this season, you have to give them credit where it's due. You know, the turnaround has been fantastic for this team.
Yeah, I do also think this track is a very good one for the 911, so it's probably struggle a bit, I can assume, on Daytona with it being more high speed, but yeah, on this track the car will be right at its home. It's, I think, usually be one of the better cars to run on this track traditionally. So Yeah, so it's definitely understandable that they're taking the top two spots here.
Now, with qualifying being finished, it is time for Husky to inform the LMP1 drivers that it's time for them to be back in the lobby. I will very quickly make a note of the qualifying order for GTD. And we will return to practice and set the grid for the race.
Did you say LMP1s can rejoin, or did you say lobby reset?
They can rejoin, but I need to reset the lobby. I've not got any clue who the guy called the Butcher is who's just joined. I'm going to remove him from the lobby because I believe he shouldn't be here. It's not a driver that qualified in any session, so they should not be here. Now we are at 15 of 16 drivers. It's all of the LMP1 drivers in the lobby.
Yeah, I think you need everyone to enter to be able to set the grid. So, but yeah, if I saw from the event settings, as you can see there, we're gonna have possibly a bit of rain around 40 or 50-minute marker, but remains to be seen how much that rain is going to be. But if I remember correctly, RO4 is torrential rain, so it's probably going to hit heavy sometime during the race.
The question really now is when we get all of the drivers in this grid, in the correct grid order, we will be able to start the race. The question is, are we missing anybody? It's telling me that
I think we should be 14 drivers here, so because I think we have 7 in each class, if I'm not mistaken.
I counted.
So you're just you have to wait Squishy entering. I think that's the last one then.
I counted 7 in LMP1, but we also have the fact that we were missing an LMP1 from qualifying, and he'll be starting at the back of the LMP1 grid. Just waiting on...
Are they allowed to do laps? Question?
Yeah, they can do warm-up laps, but just make them aware that I am trying to reset the lobby. So the lobby's reset. Just make sure, Husky, please, that they're all on the circuit and in the right order. If you would like to make any last call to drivers to get into the lobby, because we appear to only have 15 people in the lobby. So we are missing someone, I think. That would be appreciated.
Someone had to restart their game, so that's why we're missing one. He'll be back in like a few seconds.
Okay. Right, in that case, I'm going to start, if nothing else, splitting the grid into the rough order they should be while we get people joining. Just going to make sure that everyone's entered into the circuit so that I can sort the grid order. Should be going racing by about 10 to 15 minutes time if everything goes to plan. The important thing to note as well is that there is weather on its way here. Although it may not show up entirely on the weather radar, there is rain on its way.
Yeah, I think it only shows past weather and then current time, but I mean, from the lobby settings I could see, and what we also discussed internally, that yeah, within around 40 or 50 minutes it should be rain, and from what I can tell it's RO4, and that usually means it's guaranteed to be a very heavy rain here, so I think we're still waiting for a Tim Gren. I can't see them yet in the lobby.
No, I can't see Tim Grin in the lobby either.
Right, I think someone just entered. I see we're 16 now, so.
Yeah,
yeah,
that looks like it was Tim Grin.
Yep.
Right, in that case, it is time to start sorting out our grid order. LMP1, obviously, a very close qualifying session. The interesting thing is that the fact that we've got quite a few 919s in our LMP1 grid. Obviously, that will be quite interesting come the race, because at Daytona we had, I believe it was 5 919s, 2 R18s and a TS050, and that produced rather interesting racing, admittedly, with the safety cars as well. However, here on this track, the 919 really does seem to be the favourite car of all drivers.
Yeah, like, it's certainly understandable. It's a strong car anyway in this class, and I feel like the advantage, at least it used to have at the start of the game, is the downforce advantage, and that's something you really want on this track, with there being quite a few corners. So yeah, if you have maybe a slightly more downforce, or the physics for some reason giving you a little bit more downforce, certainly this is a track you certainly want to have that. So I also think at Le Mans, when we get there, it could be also quite close between these two cars, but yeah, we've yet to see how that pans out.
It certainly seems, the hybrid deployment especially on these cars certainly seems to make a rather large difference. It has to be said to the order. Why have we only got 14 cars on circuit? Roxy,
I think Roxy needs to enter.
Yeah,
he needs to enter. Yeah.
I'm just
now he's
back
entered.
to my notes and making sure I've got everyone in the right positions.
Yeah, now he's entered. So yeah.
We have Maynard ahead of Timgren. Then we have Bolden, Natty, Squishy, and Big Mac were the wrong way round. So they're now the right way round. Alvarix in the middle. Furrow at the back of LMP1 because he failed to qualify. Johto on pole for GTD, followed by Husky, his teammate, followed by JDC, followed by Outcast, followed by Roxy, followed by Oreo, followed up finally by Vipers. Right, the grid is set. Just going to make sure the drivers understand. There's 2 minutes till the start time. This could be rather interesting because obviously with the rain coming in, we're running a 90-minute race and we are expecting rain to start at somewhere around the 40-minute mark.
Yeah, I do wonder how the fuel and tires deplete on this track. It's certainly something to take into account. That do you wanna run until a potential rain and then do your pit stop, or are you going to do a quick stint and then go to the pits and then wait until the rain? Because that's certainly something you need to take into account. That there's probably gonna guaranteed to be rain, and it's gonna affect your strategy, and also you're struggling with the dry tires on the wet track. So yeah.
The good thing is for the LMP1 cars, to some degree or other, that they all have four-wheel drive. That's going to be a really big advantage, especially for the 919s where they have a true four-wheel drive system. However, the R18s have four-wheel drive, but it's only when the hybrid system is active and charged, because the four-wheel drive system is made up of electric motors, I believe, on the front axle, and then the car is predominantly rear-wheel drive. So, with that being said, I think it is time to start this race. Can we confirm that all of the drivers are in the right position? Because they should be in the right position. Yep. And then the GTD cars are all in the right position as well. It is time to start. Now, the start line is rather quick here. So we have Maynard, followed by Timgren, followed by Bolden, followed by Natty, followed by Squishy, followed by Alvarado, Big Mac, Furrow at the back of the grid. Furrow also electing to join P1 for this season. And we are starting to roll towards the start line now. Maynard on the left, Timgren in the optimal position on the right in P2 for this start, and they're underway here at the Nürburgring. Maynard going quite quickly into the first corner. A lot of movement in the mid-pack as well here, as we see cars coming through that first set of corners rather quickly. The GT field coming through as well. Natty and Alvarado fighting, Big Mac and Furrow fighting really close together. Johto coming through turn 4, small slide. Husky and JDC fighting intensely behind them. That was a half-second penalty for Johto there. That is not what he needs in this position currently. Husky and JDC still fighting all the way down towards the hairpin.
Did we see Alvarado go up to a P5 if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, he did. He's got a half-second penalty. Natty has a 1-second penalty behind him. So Furrow really could jump both of those cars if he stays close enough coming onto the next straight.
I think he's too far from Alvarado, but he could jump up to P6 with the 1-second penalty being served by Natty here very soon.
The top three just rounding out onto the back straight now. The top two, the Muppet Racing 919, starting to ease that gap out a little bit. Coming through the final chicane, the first lap done for the LMP1 cars in about 1 minute 50 seconds. That's vital, because if you know that you're doing laps in 1 minute 50 seconds in the dry, or even 1 minute 42 seconds in the dry, it allows you to plan that little bit more for later in the race. Big Mac has dropped all the way back from where he started in P6, I believe, all the way to P8. He hasn't got any damage as far as I can see. In fact, nobody has any damage in the LMP1 field. However, he has slightly fallen off the back of everybody already at this very early stage.
Yeah, possibly had some kind of mistake because, or a big penalty I have to serve, because usually you don't drop down that much if everything's going up to plan. So.
Now, looking towards the back of the field, the GTD field is really quite bunched up still, the same as the LMP field, broadly speaking. The cars are separated by a second and a half in some cases a lot less than that, as we can see Roxy here closing up to Husky, who has a half-second penalty, and Husky has dropped all the way to P4 in his class. He is currently 12th on the road of all drivers, but he is 4th in class. Outcast has passed him, JDC has passed him, and JDC is now also going after Johto very quickly here.
Yeah, Husky needs to be careful.
And we have a car around. Squishy is around at the chicane in the LMP1 class. That is not ideal for the WSR car. He has managed to get the car back underway again safely. There is no safety car here at this time. However, that is really not what you want as a driver here, especially not for WSR at their home event.
Yeah, it was in a tough position. It was in a tough place also, that it's actually not easy to rejoin from there, but I think he did well, fairly well.
He did incredibly well not to make any significant contact with other cars, it has to be said. Although, I think the stewards may want to take a look at that instance and what triggered it after the race, because it is possible that there was some contact in the middle of the chicane there.
Yeah, we didn't catch it on stream, so yeah, it remains to be seen what caused that, but usually it's a sign if you don't have damage after anything. It's possible that it was just a spin of his own. That chicane is tricky in these cars, so it's certainly possible to have a spin by yourself there.
Timgren is on the receiving end of a half-second penalty at the moment as well. That is really not ideal for him, because he's P2. That half-second penalty is going to allow Bolden to be right with him coming up to the final chicane. That gap's going to come down to about 0.3 of a second. And they're going to both really close up through this chicane. Timgren's slightly deep there and on the curbs.
Yeah, now I feel like he's in the range that he served the penalty, yes, but yeah, but for now he's dropped off Maynard slipstream here, so that's not optimal. But as I said, these cars have dirt here to begin with, so yeah, so it's alright. He kept his place at least, so
yeah. That's the critical thing with these 919s, is just the sheer amount of dirty air that they produce, because that's Timgren incredibly wide there going into turn 3. That will likely be another track limit penalty for him. I think he may have got lucky, however, there. He is 0.2 up on the fastest lap so far of his own, set on lap 2. Is that Maynard now with a penalty in front? Yes, it is Maynard, half-a-second penalty in the lead. Again, not an ideal scenario playing out here for these cars.
Yeah, do we have strict or lenient track limits for
I believe the track limit setting is weak. However, on this track in these cars, it is incredibly easy just to push it a little bit too far and to pick up a penalty.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a factor if you keep picking up half-second penalty here and there, because it's really going to in the end affect your race time if you have too many of those. So you certainly want to avoid the penalties if you can.
Precisely. Now, interestingly, Natty has dropped behind Furrow. Big Mac and Squishy and WSR cars are just running nose to tail at the moment, trying to catch up to the leader. However, both WSR Audis seem to be slightly struggling for long run pace here. It could be for the way their hybrid system works, it could be for the way the BOP is. We may never know, but they really do seem to be struggling.
Yeah, I do see they have plenty of hybrid to use, but it doesn't seem like its deployment is as strong as on the Porsche. So that seems to be the case here, from what I can see.
It's certainly interesting. Squishy is now ahead of Big Mac after a pretty good move there. The question if I was Squishy now is, knowing that there's rain on the way, would I stop at the 20-minute mark and get ready for rain at the 40-minute mark and make it so that the rain, when I need the wet tyre or the intermediate tyre for the rain, that I'm in my own pit stop window? Because at the moment, if he just keeps pushing on at this rate, he might catch the leader, but he may benefit further by deliberately undercutting the leader to get ahead on tyre strategy before the rain throws all tyre strategy out of the window.
Looking at the fuel will be probably enough to get in the rain window, so to speak, but not sure about the soft tyres if they'll last that long.
No, those soft tyres...
Or if they'll be fast enough at that position in the race. So.
My thinking is that those soft tyres seem to be wearing awfully fast on that Audi. Admittedly, it is almost identical wear being experienced by the 919s ahead as well. But it is really not what you would want as a driver, to be in that position of having spun about 3 laps into the race and then having to go on a recovery drive in order to get to where you should be.
Yeah, that's true. Should we have a look what's going on in GT class?
In GTD class, we have Johto still comfortably leading, a 4.2 second gap to Husky. Husky back up to P2 in the class. JDC up to P3, Roxy P4, Oreo P5, Outcast P6. It appears that Outcast has some rear damage. So who has... Also Roxy has rear damage here. So there has been contact there between some of these cars. Viper's the first car to receive blue flags for the LMP1 cars coming through.
Yeah, possibly that could also be due to a bit of a spin, but seeing as they haven't lost a huge amount of time, it's possible that there's been some
JDC
contact.
has nose damage. That could be critical here at the pit stop phase. Fixing that damage is going to cost him about 3 seconds on the pit stop. Neither of the Nexus Porsches ahead of him have damage. It is just JDC who has nose damage, Roxy who has rear damage, as well as Outcast who has rear damage. Now this is really interesting, because if these cars now pit with this damage and repair it, they're all going to lose about 3 or 4 seconds on the pit stop, as we see Maynard just swinging past Outcast as well as Bolden, coming down the inside through turn 3, powering the car through turn 4 and going completely past Outcast in his AMG.
Yeah, I do wonder if there's been some contact between JDC and either Outcast or Roxy, because you could see there JDC has front damage and 2 of these drivers have rear damage, so it's put 1 and 2 together, he's maybe hit the rear of one of these cars.
Or both
predict,
of them,
but
potentially.
Yeah, or both potentially. We won't know for sure, but that's certainly a possibility. Seeing as I mentioned, they didn't lose a whole lot of time there on the field, so they probably didn't have a spin either. So yeah, we'll see. Right, that's good for Alvarado. He got past just before the chicane, and you really don't want to be stuck behind there in an LMP car.
Yeah. JDC now a lap down to the leader as well. Tim Gwynn currently leading LMP1. Husky is going to be the next car to lose a lap in the GTD class. The question now really is, how much time are these LMP1 cars losing to traffic? As we see Maynard and Bolden both kicking up a huge amount of dust off the final corner. Husky under blue flags again. for the LMP1 cars coming through.
That's certainly possible. Maynard has lost a bit of time in traffic because there's actually quite a few seconds of a gap now between P1 and P2 overall here.
Squishy has recovered 8.5 seconds ahead of his teammate now. The question is how much more can he recover to the leader, because he just seems to be losing time in traffic.
Yeah, he keeps losing to the leaders, but it looks like he's up to a much better pace now, and he's catching up P6 at least. Because I think the gap was at one point 6.5 or around that, and now it's 3, so it's certainly going in the right direction, so he could still fight for a decent position. It's still a long race, and most likely also some inclement weather, so we yet to see how it is going to mix things here. From what I can see, the fuel and tires and stuff, I feel like the GTs probably need to pit before the rain hit, but for the LMP cars it's a preference of choice, although as I mentioned the soft tires will be a little bit past their due date, so to speak.
Yeah, they definitely will be past their best when the rain hits, because they're already at about 10% worn on Furo's car that we're looking at now. Although, you have to guess that with the four-wheel drive system on some of these 919s, that you will see some drivers chance it as the rain starts coming down and try and stay on those soft tyres a lap longer and gain some time.
Yeah, but I also think that's not really the recipe for success, because slick tires, really when it goes, you can see there the 3 bars at the bottom left hand corner, when it goes past the lowest bar there, there's 3 bars, then it basically becomes a race that is going to be intermediate start to be on, and yeah, further from that it's going to be even worse when it gets even more wet. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out when we get there. Furo seems to be doing a right job, but although now the past few laps it's been a bit of a struggle, he's lost a bit of time to Alvarado. I think at one point he was within 2, so possibly some driving errors and traffic perhaps.
I think more traffic than driving errors. Furo has been driving spectacularly in the first round. He's been driving fairly well so far today as well. Bearing in mind he has already made up 3 positions, having started last in his class, and is currently chasing the leader down despite having lapped traffic immediately in front of him.
Yeah, also Squishy has got up to P6 by the way, so they've managed to overtake Natty in some way or another. So
it's an interesting position here, because Squishy has really put the hammer down trying to close up to Furo, but he's also got a half-second penalty, and he can't afford to have too many of those, because if you start really racking up these penalties, you might be faster than the guy ahead of you, and in fact if you're Squishy you can see the guy ahead of you, but if you're constantly getting track limit penalties, you know you're never going to catch up to him.
Yeah, as for Natty, I feel like he may have had some kind of a mistake, because he was 3 seconds up at one point compared to Squishy, and now he's over 7 behind. Now he's lost essentially 7 or 8 seconds from that point, so probably had some kind of a mistake, I feel like. Yeah, I do wonder, Squishy, I think he's a fairly good driver, but I feel like maybe on this track, as I suspected, the Porsche seems to be the slightly better car for sure. It seems like there's so much work you have to do in the Audi to even remotely keep up with the Porsches, so it's certainly a struggle of the car here more than anything, I feel like, compared to the GT class, which is more comparable with the cars there. So.
The interesting thing here as well, with Squishy driving the way that he is, that gap is slowly, it's not coming down fast, but it is coming down, the gap to the lead, not just the car ahead, but the leader as well. The big question now is at what point are we going to start seeing a safety car? Because at Daytona, it took us almost 90 minutes to see a safety car get triggered. However, here, on a more technical and complex circuit, I think we could see a safety car triggered in the next few minutes as tyres start wearing down and graining and car handling becomes more and more of an issue.
Yeah, what are like the requirements like that the safety car appears? Because we've had some mistakes and contacts, but it's like when are we past the limit that we're probably gonna get a safety car?
Well, the limit realistically is that if we have either two cars make significant contact and we can see clearly the moment where they had significant contact, or if a car has had a significant off into a gravel trap and has lost time, either of those would be criteria for the safety car.
Yeah, also in GT class, Giotto has a quite substantial lead here, almost 10 seconds, and now we have a fight for P2 there between JDC and Husky.
It's certainly going to be close between these two because they're really close together. Also, JDC and Giotto were really close at Daytona, but here it seems to have swung the other way. It seems to be Husky that's really close to JDC.
Yeah, I feel like on this track the Porsche is slightly better for sure, and also the front damage on the Mercedes of JDC isn't really helping either, so looks like his main concern is losing a bit of time in this race from what I can see.
It certainly looks like that. The question is right now, if I was in JDC's car or in Roxy's car or in I believe Outcast's car as well, if I was in any of those three cars in the GT class with damage, at what point would I start considering pitting and fixing the car? Because it's got to be frustrating to be driving around with damage, struggling, knowing that if you just pitted, yes, you might lose time to pit stop, but you'd be going faster.
Yeah, but to be fair, looking at the lap times, it's not a massive struggle, but yeah, it's true, you lose maybe a few tenths per lap or something, so it's certainly gotten lucky enough that they didn't get more damage, but it's still probably enough to lose them a bit of pace, because I think JDC is up on his fastest lap even despite the damage, so I mean that's already telling a little bit that the damage can't be too bad, but yeah, but it's an interesting thought, because they could actually pit fairly soon if they wanted to fix the damage and then have fresh tires, and then just wait for then they should be able to run until the rain should arrive, but yeah, we'll see what they decide to do here. So maybe they're just about happy enough where they are now and just gonna try to stay in the same similar pit strategy window as the other cars in their class.
Yeah, the critical thing here really, if you're a GTD driver, is that pit cycle. The sooner you get to the pit cycle, the worse it is really, because if you're in a position where, for example, you know, like Vipers is here. Oh, yellows, that is yellow flags. Somebody is around, that's Outcast, and that is major damage. Safety car.
Yeah, Outcast has spun around it back, but yeah, they lost 10 seconds, so. But okay, now it's interesting to see. I feel like drivers are probably gonna want to pit here, possibly under the safety car, once it's allowed.
So now we will see hopefully Timgren start to back the field off a little bit, because this is really not an ideal scenario, because they're halfway to the pit window. The problem is, in being halfway to the pit window, you are not in a great spot for tyres or fuel, whether you go or don't go, especially now knowing as well that there's rain on the way.
Yeah, I do wonder for the LMP car seeing their fuel and such. I feel like the optimal strategy could be just to stay out now and then wait for the rain, but I guess it depends. If you pit in and manage to charge the pack back up, then possibly it could be worth it to take a pit stop and take fresh tires. So it's actually interesting. Both strategies could work, but I feel like possibly all the GT3 cars should try to have a pit stop here.
Yeah, the critical thing here as well is that it's important as well for the GTD cars to stay in the right order. Outcast is stopping on the side of the circuit and trying to go again. Is it possible that he was waiting for the LMP leader to come past? Yes, it is, so that he's in the correct position relative to the LMP leader. Well, we have flying cars apparently now. Somebody has, I believe that might have been Outcast, has knocked the cones at turn 1 on the exit absolutely everywhere. We'll definitely get confirmation of that with Natty coming through here now. Yep, there's a cone in the middle of the track.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a glitch there. Possibly the drivers didn't experience that. The flying of the cars there when they were driving, but it happens sometimes when the game replay can glitch out a little bit. Yeah, so we're waiting here for the pack to form. So I guess these drivers need to get up to the pack there, but we'll slowly get it done.
We
here
still have, I believe, 1, 2, 3. A lot of the GTD field is still out of position and coming around to be in position. The pit lane is now going to be open in a moment because of the pit order that we're in.
Yeah, I feel like, I wonder if everyone has understood
Joe,
the task.
Is
like
it full speed to catch up or 150? Because it's
One-
a while.
If the cars are struggling to catch up, tell them that they can speed up as fast as they need to, just don't overtake.
Yeah, I think they need to go full speed to catch up. There's quite a big gaps here, so it's gonna take forever otherwise. That's my recommendation. Yeah.
Just remind everyone to stay in single file as well, please. The leader is currently at lap 14. I'm now going to sort out to say pit lane is open. Right, so for the people watching the stream at the moment, we're currently under safety car because of a rather nasty incident that one of the Mercedes AMG GT3s has had, where I believe they have gone backwards into a wall somewhere. And that was in fact Outcast here. Quite severe damage on that car. In a moment we're going to sort out the drop back. We're just waiting on Oreo to catch up to the rest of the field because we have 4 cars still catching up. Oreo is one of them, and we have a car in the pit lane. That is Roxy in the pit lane grabbing some fuel and some tyres and to repair that damage on the tail of that car.
Yeah, that could be smart to do now with there being the damage, because they'll be able to be on fresh tires and catch up to the pack, and then also have a non-damaged car here. So and also crucially, they won't lose a lap here either. So
no.
See where they're on track, but they need to go. Yeah, they need to go full speed to catch up. I do hope they catch up soon, because the rain is not gonna arrive in too much longer of a time, so I really want to be
the rain is arriving in 13 minutes. However, it would not surprise me if during the rain we see yet another safety car triggered by any on-track issues. So the cars that will be getting the wave around after we've done the class split will be Outcast and Vipers, as they're both a lap down to their class leaders. All of the LMP cars are still on the lead lap, which means this restart could be really interesting because Squishy has been brought all the way back into this by the safety car now.
Yeah, that's very good for him. Yeah, sure.
It is almost ideal, in fact, for him.
Yeah, we have some of the GTs are gonna catch up the pack now, and then a couple others are at the bottom of the track, so it's gonna be
so it is
still
lap. Oreo and Roxy to catch up. Husky, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you communicate? Oh, we've just had somebody spin. That was a WSR car. That was Squishy has just spun at the chicane again.
Yeah, but they're going full speed, Joe, to catch up, so it's probably going to be on the next lap. So I think we'll soon be in the pack.
Could you please communicate to the drivers that once the pit cycle has finished on this lap and everybody is back together again in a pack, that we will be doing the drop back procedure, where we'll be splitting the classes and allowing the two GTDs that are a lap down to pass the leader. So that will be
Also,
Vipers and Outcast.
Do be aware that Roxy boxed under safety car.
Yeah, the pit lane was open at the time.
Not for the people who are still coming around. He had completed the lap yet.
Oh, right. That will be something that we look at post-race then.
Yep. So you said two Viperize and Outcast?
It is, yeah, just Viperize and Outcast that get the wave around. Both of them are a lap down on the GTD class, but we're going to wait for everybody to be back with the main pack of the LMP cars before we go to racing again. Bolden has got a 3-second penalty for cutting the pit lane. The top 3 did not stop under safety car. Okay, so
that's interesting. Did they take fuel on board, by the way, the ones who pitted? Can you check?
The GTD cars who stopped have all taken tyres and fuel.
Yeah.
Big Mac and Squishy have both stopped. They've both taken tyres and some fuel. Alvarado has taken tyres and fuel. Furrow has taken tyres and fuel. And Squishy has just spun again.
Yeah, this could change the dynamic of the race a little bit, because with them taking fuel aboard, it also means that they're going to spend less time in the pits, I think, on the second half, because I think that fuel isn't quite enough. Yeah, no, it's certainly not enough to make it until the end of the race here, so
yeah.
There's many safety cars, because
can you tell Bolden to pull over to the right and serve his penalty, please, Husky?
Well, as long as he's out of the way, I mean, certainly he should understand that.
It was just more for
he went
safety,
to the right there,
so that
I know, but I went for the right there, so
yeah. Right, the pack is together now, so we will say on the main straight, GTD cars to drop back. Yeah, on the front straight, GTD cars stay to the left and drop back. LMP cars to the right and to pass them. Right, so all of the LMP cars are on the lead lap. Because Squishy is going to be in the pits now, he's going to fix the rear damage that he's got from the last spin and go back out. We will then have him behind the GTDs, so can you tell him that the GTDs are going to have to drop behind him, please? So tell the GTD cars to allow him through. Just so that we've got the classes in the right order, but do it, you know, sensibly, please. Once he's cleared the GTD cars, whoa. Right, so now we're going to do the wave around, and that is on Vipers and Outcast.
Alright, go ahead and have those two. Yep, you.
So they are to overtake the leader and to wave around to gain this lap back and form back up on the back of the GTD field.
Ooh, I hope all the drivers were aware there.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
LMP drivers seemed a bit
sketchy,
yeah.
Weren't
Those
like they
two
were
cars
entirely sure that they were supposed to allow them back.
Through okay.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any damage, but it was quite close to being some contact there, so...
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Vipers and Outcast need to go full racing speed for 2 laps in order to get this wave round done. Just remind them they're not meant to be overtaking or fighting each other, so stay a sensible distance apart.
Yeah, I do hope they catch up really soon, because I see the timer again. We're getting close to near the rain. By the way, at this point now, when we're raining, can you, Joe, have a quick look at the weather radar if anything's showing up yet?
I will have a look now. The weather radar currently for the last 60 minutes says that there is nothing on the radar. 30 minutes ago, nothing there.
Yeah,
and approaching the current time, there is still nothing on the weather radar.
Okay, so the train isn't visible yet, but we know how this game works. It can appear just all of a sudden, and then it hits the track like it's...
Yeah, exactly. It could be really interesting to see this, because the LMP cars are all getting in the right order. The GTD guys that are unlapping have to really go quite fast now. What speed is Tim Grin doing? Tim Grin is doing the right sort of speed. A lap for Tim Grin is 3 minutes, so that, yeah, it's going to take about another lap for Outcast and for Vipers to catch up to the back of the field.
Yeah, I think they're probably not quite able to catch up on the current lap at Tim Grin. The rest are on there, so looks like we restart the race around lap 19. I mean, on that lap where the leaders of LMP are, so yeah. Although if they're very quick to catch up here, I think they're just a little bit too far behind probably, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, so they probably go like 2 minutes or something, and yeah, they probably don't, they're a little bit too far away from making that happen, so I think we go back to racing on lap 19
lap
possibly.
19, yeah.
For the leaders, like, I mean, of course, with the different car classes, there's different amount of laps done here, so.
Yeah. The other thing to note as well, obviously, with rain on the way, the drivers in the lead of this race who haven't stopped yet are at a real advantage as we start seeing headlights come on in the background. That is a pretty good indicator that there is rain on the way. It's just a case
of... do we see the rain lights on, because that could also be I think controlled by the driver, possibly, depending on how you map it on your wheel or controller, so yeah. It's certainly possible that the rain is about to maybe arrive soon.
Well, there's no rain lights on any of the GTD cars yet.
Yeah, so I think it hasn't hit the track yet, really. So yeah. Right. So yeah, we'll definitely do one more lap, but hopefully at the back they'll be able to catch up.
Yeah.
Catch up here. So
the pit lane is still open, so if drivers need to make stops, now would be a good time.
yeah, but I think at this point everyone's probably decided that they're not gonna stop anymore. So because we're getting close to the restart, so yeah.
Yeah, we will be back underway here on lap 19. The 2 GTD wave rounds are currently coming round the final corner section, which means they will catch up to the main pack this lap.
Yeah. Right, I think once they catch up, maybe you could just message that everyone knows that yeah, we'll restart on this lap or something. End of this lap or like...
Yeah, race will resume at the end of this lap. Now this could be interesting because we're going to go back to the weather radar here and just see if there is anything, any indication at all that there is rain on the way to this circuit.
Right, so we will see in the past, but let's see like the very last end, like do we see rain on the radar just yet?
No, still nothing.
Yeah,
that really could be interesting.
Yeah, especially if it doesn't hit soon, then yeah, it's gonna change a lot. Especially the drivers who didn't do a pit stop will be probably the bigger losers there, at least, because yeah, they'll have severely less fuel and they have to probably fuel some more compared to the rest of the LMP. I think the top 3 in LMP haven't done a pit stop here under the safety car, but yeah.
P1 in GTD hasn't stopped. P2 has, but stopped under the safety car while the pit lane was still closed. P3 has stopped, P4 has stopped, P5 in GTD has stopped, P6 has, and P7 also has. So, I feel like for the...
Yeah, I think for the GT cars, definitely a pit stop should have been done there. I feel like it was maybe the right call there, but for LMP I can see both working because they are not as fuel consuming as the GT3 cars.
Still no sign of rain lights on the GTD cars. Right. Timgren is just coming up to the final corner now.
Yeah, but I think on but if it was correctly with the weather slots, it should be on during the next 10 minutes. We should see the first bits of rain.
Yeah, we should start seeing rain in the next 10 minutes. Natty, a fantastic jump on the restart. He has grabbed P2, but Maynard is going to fight it. Oh, that was close, around the outside there from Maynard. Just having a think about it there. Alvarez trying desperately to hold off Bolden, Furrow and Squishy and Big Mac as they
Alvarez also had a good restart. He's gained 2 positions. I think Furrow maybe was caught up a little bit because he's lost actually 2 positions. Sorry, at least 1 position, so yeah. But a good restart also for Alvarez.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic restart for Alvarez. JDC fighting with Roxy and Johto in GT class. Roxy still has the hazard lights on that Huracan.
Yeah, it looks like they forgot the
Outcast
ton.
appears to have jumped Oreo. Oreo is really falling off here as a result of not doing that pit stop where everyone else has pitted, and that was slight contact there between Husky and Oreo.
Ooh,
Coming
yeah.
side by side up now to the Schumacher S. This could really get interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Husky picked that damage there. And
Neither car has damage, although it's still not what you would want as a driver in this situation, especially knowing that there is rain on its way.
yeah, certainly as we can see, it's getting really white grey on the track. So yeah, we're getting close to the rain. I think. Right, Alvarado is going to try to get up to P3 here now on the straight.
And he is. He's gone all the way round the outside of Natty at T1. That is a fantastic move.
That's
Will
a very nice move.
Natty
sure.
and Bolden come back at him? Bolden just tapping Natty ever so slightly into turn 3. Squishy now involved in this as well in the R18. Furrow ever so slightly losing out here to this fight. All of these cars fantastically close after that first pit stop.
Yeah, Natty is really caught up here, being slightly... it always takes a bit of time to get up to rhythm once you've been passed, and he just lost 2 positions there, almost 3, so yeah, he needs to get back at it, because he has Squishy breathing down his neck now.
Half a second penalty for Maynard coming up to the penalty zone. Tim Grint running away with this once again, 1.9 seconds in the lead now. The question is, at what point do the rain lights come on and we start seeing rain hit this circuit?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, that's for sure. Yeah, it certainly looks like for safety's case a lot of the LMP cars took a lot of fuel, so the rain isn't gonna hit in a while. Actually, the leaders will have a slight advantage here, being on low fuel, but looks like at least one of the top 3 guys has actually dropped down a little bit, but yeah, the top 2 are certainly in decent position here to take advantage of the lighter car here.
Half second penalty for Vipers, a slight little bit of contact there with Roxy. Roxy still driving round with the hazard lights on that Lamborghini. This is starting to really get quite aggressive between these 3 drivers, because Husky is now involved in this fight as well. The LMP1 fight appears for the moment to have calmed down just a little bit, as we start seeing the GTD fight really start to hot up here. Just slight little bits bumping it back and forth here between these cars. 3 different cars obviously here as well, fighting for this position. Vipers just looking to the inside, looking to keep the position from Husky. Roxy pulling away slightly now. As we look further up the field, JDC now in the lead of the GTD class. Johto pressuring him heavily. Big Mac following Squishy, following Furrow in the LMP1 battle, following Natty. Bolden starting to really apply the pressure to Alvarez here. The question now remains is, where is the rain that was forecast at the start of this race? Has Gran Turismo done its usual thing and decided that the rain that was projected is not enough to put any water on the circuit?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Can you see any rain lights come on? Because I
have not seen any
yet.
rain lights, and the weather radar seems to tell the same story. There's still no rain appearing. There's nothing for the last 30 minutes. And as we come up towards the current time, you'd start expecting to see patches here and there. And there just isn't any rain on the radar.
Yeah, that's quite odd actually. Okay. Guess that's the case then.
Now, 1-2 for Muppet Racing, Alvarado P3, Bolden close behind P4. Natty 4.6 seconds back. Natty not changing his tyres on the pit stop. That would explain the huge and dramatic fall off for that car.
Yeah, he did the same as yeah, that's why he's lost out, but at the same time yeah, some of the other LMP cars have been just fine, not changing too much, but yeah, but yeah, that's certainly a thing. His tires have more tire life, and yeah, they're not up to the perfect grip anymore. So, interesting enough, Furo is on mediums, by the way. So, unless the rain hits, those could take him until the end. I feel like.
Absolutely, it is a possibility. The critical thing here now is that the leading pair of cars from Muppet Racing haven't stopped yet, and they're losing time because of it. If this rain comes now in the next couple of minutes, this really could shake up the entire order for this race.
Yeah, I do hope it drives, because it's gonna really change the dynamics here in the race, so that's for sure.
Timgren, a half-second penalty for that last track limits infraction. These drivers really pushing the limit of what the track and what these cars can give together. The GTD fight incredibly close here. We've got 3 cars fighting for the top 3 positions. 2 Mercedes AMGs, 1 Porsche, followed by a Lamborghini and another Porsche fighting, followed by Vipers in the final AMG, followed by Oreo, who is still yet to stop and change the tyres on that 911 RSR. Those tyres have got to be screaming for mercy by this point.
Yeah, they do have some tire life left in there, but obviously you'll be a little bit hindered by that now, because yeah, they have too much wear, and looks like from the lap times he's had 2 quite awful laps, and that lap wasn't anything special either, so yeah, he's really struggling now with the pace. Probably should have done a pit stop under the safety car, as the majority of the class did.
The interesting thing is here, there's still no rain lights popping up on these GTD cars.
Yeah. Where's the rain?
Yeah, rain has been forecast, but where is it? Because the track is clearly quite gloomy and misty at the moment, but there is no rain coming in.
Yeah, the mist is certainly increasing. I do wonder still if we could see some rain soon. Because normally it doesn't get this misty if rain isn't about to show up.
On the radar in the top right corner. Rain spotted on the radar in the top right
Yeah,
corner.
there is rain, but it's going to miss the circuit.
Yeah, looks like it's gonna miss the circuit there.
Yeah, the first patch of rain that we can see is missing the circuit entirely. The question is will Timgren and Maynard take this as the opportunity to pit, or will they keep going? Because if I was in those LMP1 cars right now, I would start considering a pit stop if rain is on the radar. Because as well, he's just starting to catch up to Vipers again, the back marker for GTD at the moment. This really could shape the entire race today.
But the question is also if the train hits the track, and if it does hit the track, how much rain is it actually gonna cause? Because I think with this current weather physics, if it's just mostly light blue on the radar, it usually doesn't cause enough rain for it to affect anything.
There was blotches of green on the weather radar on the large screen. However, it doesn't seem to be hitting the circuit just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly that is gonna entice pit stops if that were to hit the track. But yeah.
A fantastic battle is coming together between Bolden and Alvarado currently. They are really fighting for position here. Bolden just looking to the inside, trying to drive it through the corner. Alvarado having none of it, trying to stay on the inside into the Schumacher S. And Bolden running ever so slightly wide through the Schumacher S there. The question is
he
now,
was on the suboptimal driving line, so yeah, he had to back out a little bit.
Do we start seeing rain on the circuit itself? Because there is rain coming. The weather radar is telling us very little at the moment. There is almost been no rain so far. It's just been incredibly cloudy so far. The cars all continuing to pound round. GTD cars about to be lapped again by the LMP1 leaders, and the rain that's projected on the radar is missing the circuit entirely.
Yeah,
this could really shake things up in the battle for the lead, where both Timgren and Maynard have not stopped yet, and were both, I imagine, banking on there being rain at this point in the race.
Yeah, they have to come to the pits, and I feel like some of the drivers who did pit under the safety car will be able to go until the end, so yeah, this could certainly mix things around. Although I will say Timgren is doing a good job in the lead, increasing the gap slightly, because that's all going to be helpful once he eventually has to do a pit stop, so.
Well, the critical thing here is that it is starting to brighten up slightly. Real question is at what point do we... Oh, that's a big off for Bolden. That is another safety car, I'm afraid.
Speed or no?
I'm just trying to work out where everyone is. At the moment, the leader... Okay, so the good news is the leader has one GTD immediately ahead of him. So could you please tell JDC to drop behind Timgren to start with? Tell Timgren to pass JDC, but no other cars are to go past.
Yeah, I think at this point when the pits open, I feel like the Timgren and Maynard should come to the pits, because that fuel is not going to last until the end, and even the tires might struggle a little bit.
Right, so we've got a defined leader, which is now the race leader. We now need to work out what lap is everybody on. The leader is at the usual speed, 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. That's perfect. Now we have Maynard in P2, and we have Alvarado. So in the LMP1 pack we have all cars in LMP1 are still on the lead lap relative to one another. 26, right. All cars in GTD are on the same lap as one another.
Will pit lane be open this time by? Question.
Huh?
Will pit lane be open this time by?
Yes.
Alright.
Right, so I feel like we'll probably see Timgren and Maynard into the pits immediately, because looks like the rain isn't gonna hit the track, and
yeah. What we'll do is we'll get the pit lane open now, and then we will start the drop back procedure once everybody who needs to pit has pit.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone else who needs to pit to make it until the end of the race should probably do that now, because
yeah.
Oreo certainly has to do that now, so he's running on almost fumes, but looks like he'll be able to make it.
He can take emergency service, which is 5 seconds of fuel.
Yeah, but if the pit lane is open, he's gonna be able to do a regulation pit stop, right? So yeah, he'll be just fine. But it got awfully close to that mark.
Right. So we'll let all of the cars go round, do the pit stop, and then we'll do the shuffle after the pit cycle.
Yeah, looks like any rain didn't hit the track. I feel like the other rain weather slot is gonna soon be over. So yeah, it looks like the rain that was forecasted just missed the track. So as we could see on the radar.
Right.
Right, so I imagine we'll see quite a few drivers.
Yeah, Timgren is in. We have Timgren in the pit lane, Maynard in the pit lane, Alvarix, Natty, Squishy, Furrow, Bolden, all in the pit lane, Big Mac in the pit lane, all LMP1 cars are in. Outcast stays out in GTD. JDC is in the pit lane. Johto in the pit lane. Viper's in the pit lane. Husky in the pit lane. Roxy also in the pit lane.
Right, so looks like Outcast maybe takes a slight gamble on track position, but
Alvarez looks to have taken a big gamble on track position and has come out in the lead.
Well, Joe, I think what's happened here is with the pack being closed up and they've done it.
Just fully stopped on circuit.
I think there's some confusion now when he's ahead of everyone else or something.
Yeah.
That's weird. Luckily he was ghosted there, but yeah. That's not good. Yeah, but Joe, I think what has happened here is that because Alvarez and a few others did the pit stops much earlier and probably took more fuel on board, it means that they had to fuel much less here now. And as a result, they lost less time in the pits compared to some of the leading drivers. So.
Yeah. So, we are going to now do the GTD drop back. So the GTD cars are not going to start dropping back until we're on the back straight. Or, you know, they could do it in the middle of the Schumacher S. That works too, I guess. Right, so Outcast is now leading GTD. All of the GTD cars are on the same lap. All of the LMP1 cars are on the same lap.
We're all packed up together and good to go.
Yeah. Right, so the race will resume at the end of this lap. We have just shy of 30 minutes of racing left.
Yes, there's a dash until the end. I do wonder, with the one driver not taking a pit stop there, Outcast, will he have enough fuel and tires for the end, because it's still almost 30 minutes to run. So.
Somebody just dove to the pits there.
Oh, I wonder
Bolden
if that
dove to the pit lane. He has rear damage.
Ah, that's unfortunate for him. That's gonna be a massive gap to try to gain back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a difficult one, because he loses time now, but yeah, at the same time, was the damage bad enough to warrant a pit stop?
Well, it was rear damage on a 919, and that is notoriously difficult to drive around.
Yeah.
The question is what or who was he hit by, as we see Outcast falling back dramatically in the same fashion that we saw Oreo falling back earlier due to not taking a pit stop under the yellow.
Yeah, he struggles because he is not anymore up to the peak grip of those tires, so yeah. He'll be struggling now for sure until the end of the race, I have to say.
Yeah. Timgren pressuring Alvarez.
Yeah, he's been fast all race, so he probably tries to take the lead as soon as possible here. So
Furrow has closed all the way up from P8 in LMP1 to P3, and he is continuing to close that gap down as he runs slightly deep in that corner. That allows Maynard to just get up the inside, just get a nose into the inside there as you come down to the kink in the back straight.
Yeah, I feel like for Furrow,
he P5 as well.
Yeah, I think for Furrow he probably did the same thing as Alvarez. He probably had taken more fuel on the first safety car and then had to take less fuel and also gain a bit of time there and track positions. So.
Oreo just had a huge moment going wide into the gravel. He managed to keep the car going and pointed critically in the right direction and not lose too much time. Outcast is continuing to struggle and act as the cork in the bottle, really, for the rest of the cars around him. It really is just a matter of time before Roxy and Vipers start overtaking. Roxy throws the Lamborghini to the outside, has a look, doesn't quite get the move done, has a look to the outside again, still doesn't quite manage to get the move done, has a look to the inside now coming down to turn 3, doesn't go for the move into turn 3, still looking for it through turn 4. Husky with a half-second penalty. The GTD pack all incredibly close together here. Johto back to the lead in GTD. JDC following incredibly closely. Gravel being kicked up everywhere. Bolden is now clear of the GTDs and can start closing down on Big Mac and the leading pack of LMP1 cars. Squishy starting to catch Furrow up. Furrow very close to Maynard. Maynard only a second back from Timgren, his teammate. Timgren pressurising Alvarez coming through the final corner. Will Timgren make a move on Alvarez to overtake for the lead? Alvarez moving from side to side to break the slipstream down the main straight. Hard on the brakes for turn 1. Timgren, a small moment of oversteer there, coming through turn 1, turn 2. Coming down now to turn 3, and Timgren runs slightly wide. 4 wheels beyond the curb. Will the game perceive that as a track limit violation? No, it won't. 4 wheels beyond the curb again for Timgren through turn 4, which is permitted by the game.
That's close to be a track limit penalty. Possibly he gets away with it because I think I saw in qualifying that you can run it a little bit wide, and then you don't get a penalty. But yeah, if you go a little bit, if you go much more deeper than that, like then you're gonna get the penalty. That's like right close to the edge there. So, but
yeah.
So far Alvarez is doing an okay job of trying to stay in the lead. I have to say on this track it's not too easy to overtake, especially I feel like in these cars where there's some dirt to the air involved. So.
Maynard, half a second penalty. That's going to allow Furrow to close right the way up. Furrow driving this race, I believe, with a VR headset on, which will not help at all when the rain comes.
Yeah, but it seems like it missed the track because I think we're past the...
I would suggest that we are past the window for rain here now. Alvarez still in the lead by 0.4 of a second. Timgren still looking for a way past that car.
Yeah, he needs to get really close at the end of the main straight, but it's not easy to follow through that chicane, so it's a little bit of, I say, similar situation as in the Barcelona track, because the chicane kind of breaks away a proper opportunity to follow, and I feel like he's slightly too far back again, So probably Alvarado is gonna keep the lead here again.
Half-second penalty for both JDC and Johto. JDC is going to serve that penalty. Johto is not, due to how close he got it to the penalty zone. That might allow Husky to close up to JDC and start applying pressure so that Johto can serve the penalty and stay in the lead, which would be critical at this stage if there was to be another safety car.
Yeah. Now Johto needs to make sure that he has a big enough of a gap so that he can keep the GT3 class lead here, because if it gets too if it's too small of a lead at the end of this lap, then then JDC is gonna take the lead in GT3 class.
Looking further up the field, Squishy is caught up to Furrow, but he has a half-second penalty. Maynard, another penalty for track limits there as well. This really isn't ideal for the Muppet Racing 919s. They want to be getting a move on with this, but every time they're pushing, they're getting track limit penalties or catching traffic.
Yeah, I think a Timgren would definitely have the pace to take the win here, but as I said, it's not easy to make an overtake, and again, looks like he's slightly too far back again to go for a move. Although he got a very good exit there, now it's going to be actually close, because he's going to get the slight overspeed here.
Oh, a slight snap of oversteer from Alvarado. Timgren also having a slight moment there in the exit of turn 1. Could he have a look going into turn 5 at the inside of Alvarado? Is he close enough? No, he's not. He is not close enough to have a look going into turn 5.
Yeah, I think Dirty Air again just kicked in slightly, and yeah, he's slightly too far back. This is gonna be really frustrating for him, because he probably knows that he has quite a bit more pace than the current leader, but it's just, yeah, you have to make that move somehow and do it, of course, cleanly. So it's not easy, as I said, on this track being quite narrow and somewhat technical.
Yeah. Squishy has caught all the way up to the back of Furrow again, and once again we're going to have a similar position as the battle for the lead right now, where you're going to have two cars in really close proximity, but it's going to be incredibly tricky to pass for those cars.
Yeah, but I have to say now Timgren is very close.
Timgren is just a little bit closer this lap than he has been before, but he thinks better of the move into the final chicane. Will he try again going into turn 1?
Yeah, and he's gonna need probably a better exit and or at least be very, very close enough to Alvarez to go for the move.
Furrow stopping for, I believe, damage. Furrow has damage on the nose of his car. Who was that caused from? Has Furrow hit somebody? He has not hit anybody. So where has that damage come from on his car? Has he had an incident where he's hit a wall somewhere?
He hit the pit lane entryway.
Ah, right. So that's Husky telling us there that Furrow hit the pit entry wall and just clipped it as he was going round the final corner. Alvarez still 3 and a bit tenths ahead of Timgren. This battle getting really fast and furious now as the clock gets closer towards the end. 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes left to the end of this race. Timgren is going to be absolutely desperate to get a pass completed now before the end of this race.
Yeah, because this battle is also going to bring Maynard back in the picture, so we're soon going to have a 3-way battle at this rate. So yeah, I think Ren really wants to get a move on, but as I said, there aren't really many good places to go for a move here. You're just going to need,
and Timgren goes
some kind of overspeed
down the inside into the final chicane, and that allows Alvarez to get past. Maynard now trying to force his way around the outside of Alvarez. Oreo in the way through the final corner of the leading 3 cars. Squishy just approaching in the back of shot there on this group, catching up quite quickly. His lap about a second faster than Alvarex's and Timgren's previous best lap.
Yeah, good move by Timgren. That's certainly one of the places you can go for a move there in the chicane, but yeah, you really need to be alongside the other car to be able to make that happen. So it's tough to do a dive bomb there because it's so tight there. So now Maynard is going to be under the same struggle, so this is really good for Timgren because he's going to have clear air, and also probably the second fastest car in this race is also going to have a slight struggle, I think, to get by Alvarez.
The critical thing though is if they all keep fighting in the next 17 minutes, Squishy is going to catch up to the entire pack and going to be in with a shot of winning on his home circuit. This is not over yet by any means.
Yeah, possibly, but at the same time, Timgren's been looking really fast this race, and he's also has clear air now, so I actually expect him to break away slightly here in the lead. Yeah, it's now already almost 2 seconds up when it was just over a second a while ago. So yeah, it looks like at this rate, Timgren is gonna be able to possibly cruise for a victory. But yeah, there's gonna be some traffic also to deal with, so that's also another factor in this. Yeah, Maynard's dropped back. Maybe he lost a bit of time in traffic or something. But
yeah,
now almost 2.5 seconds behind Alvarez.
The traffic appears to be doing traffic things at the moment. And just being in the way. Oh, and that is contact between Maynard and Outcast.
Ooh, oh no.
That is a safety car.
That's a shame. Wonder if Outcast didn't recognize Maynard was there on the inside, like, and just turned in all of a sudden, like, that's... Yeah, stewards will have to investigate that, but I feel like that might be a bit of a racing incident there, because, yeah. It's unfortunate anyways.
So, who is the car ahead of Timgren right now? The car immediately ahead of Timgren is... Nobody. It was Johto. Johto is now slotted in behind Timgren, which is fantastic. Right, so we have... Right, all of the GTD cars are on the lead lap.
Right, so I think... I'm not sure of the procedure, but maybe we go racing on the next lap, because I don't know if there was someone getting damaged there. They'll be able to fix it, I guess.
Of the LMP1 cars are also on the lead lap.
Okay. Oh, interesting. JDC is gonna serve a penalty here.
Right, GTD cars are to stay to the left on the front straight and drop back, so that we can get the shuffle sorted early. Trying to get this back underway as quickly as possible at the moment, so the pit lane will remain shut for this safety car because we're going to go green at the end of this next lap. Right. Are we all back in the correct order? Yes, we are in the correct order. Right, race will resume at the end of this lap. There's no point closing the pit pit lane or declaring the pit lane open for a safety car that's 2 laps, where we can just shuffle the orders, get everybody bunched up and go again.
Yeah, that's true, and also we're quite
late into the race. Opening the pit lane at this point would add time to this safety car that I would imagine the drivers do not want removed from their race distance.
Yeah.
This has brought Squishy all the way back from that spin and dropping to last earlier to being P4 in a fast car with the leading pack.
Yeah,
Could
him and
we
Tim Gren
see him pull off the upset?
Yeah, him and Tim Gren will be on very low fuel, so they'll be happy that they had a safety car, and yeah, because I think they were kind of close to the limit there with the fuel, at least at Tim Gren. But yeah, I mean certainly now he has no worry, but yeah.
Right, Tim Gren is in control of the pace now. He can speed up to 90 miles an hour, so 150 kph if he would like. Right, we have a little under 12 minutes left in this race. If there's another safety car now, the race will likely end under safety car.
Yeah, we're very close to the margin, but basically if the safety car doesn't appear immediately, then we'll probably finish behind that. Right, Tim Gren waited until the last end there. I'm not sure it was the best
Tim
strategy.
Gren waited until the very last moment to go, yes.
Yeah, because he gave Alvarado a bit of a chance, but he was just able to keep the lead there.
Squishy is right with Maynard now. This is what these safety cars are going to produce now that the system has been developed and made more refined by the admin team here at LSR. The safety cars are going to produce these fantastically close finishes, closer than what we saw at Daytona. At Daytona we saw 3 cars within a few seconds of each other. Here we're going to see 5, maybe 6 cars within a second of each other. All of the LMP1 cars still on the lead lap by the end of the race. The GTD field coming up to the Schumacher S. Johto leading, JDC P2, Husky P3, Vipers P4, Outcast P5, Roxy P6, Oreo P7. Tim Gren really lighting up that car now, trying to stay in the lead. Alvarado just being passed now by Maynard, but he's going to attempt the switchback coming out of the final corner. Alvarado looking to the inside. He is level with Maynard. He's pulling up to be fully alongside here. On the brakes into the first corner, Alvarado is back through into P2. Maynard looking to the inside, looking to the outside now of T2, T3. Maynard still struggling to find a gap to put that 919 into where he can get past Alvarado. Meanwhile, Squishy closing that gap down to Maynard in P3 and to Alvarado in P2. Could we see Squishy close all the way up and come from last to first?
Yeah, but Joe, if you notice the gaps there, I feel like now the struggle with the Audi on this track is the hybrid deployment. The 919 employs the hybrid much more aggressively out of the corners,
the R18,
and so they'll be able to accelerate much faster.
The R18 deploys its hybrid almost exclusively above 100 miles an hour or 120 miles an hour even. So I believe you're right. It may actually almost be impossible without either an incident ahead of him or without people needing fuel to make it to the end of this race for Squishy to win this. The R18 is fantastic for high end, but in the corners on a technical circuit like this, that hybrid performance, like you said, is what's going to be the major factor here in whether he can make that time up or not.
Yeah, also I think the deployment isn't strong enough because the 919 can almost dump the whole load on a straight, but yeah, this car uses maybe a quarter of that on a longer straight and then it's gone. But obviously it would be more of a factor perhaps on a faster track, but yeah, here the straight not being massively long is not really helpful.
The critical thing now is that Alvarado for the last 7 and a bit minutes needs to stay ahead of Maynard, because if he stays ahead of Maynard, then Squishy has a small chance of catching up to the pair of them. Natty with Squishy now as well. The 919's absolutely hounding the Audi.
Yeah, I feel like Natty has a good chance if he has a good end of the race to possibly go for P4, because that 919 hybrid looks like the car to be in, to be fair, in this race. Yeah, it's just unfortunate there's nothing you can do when you don't have the straight line speed. It must be a little bit, I think, frustrating in being in Squishy's shoes, because all the straights is gonna just lose time and he can't do anything about it, so it's just fortunate how the game has made the different hybrid performances in these cars. I feel like if anything the hybrid deployment should be swapped between those two cars, because I think in any way the 919 hybrid is a little bit better, but yeah, now apparently they also have better hybrid deployments. So.
The question now really is who's going to hold on and who's not going to hold on, because the top 3 are just ever so slightly running away with this now. Squishy is starting to struggle to keep up, and that's allowed Natty and Bolden to really close up to him and start putting the pressure on. Although, if Natty and Bolden continue to fight as they have been, they may start losing time again to Squishy. They need to work together here to gain that position rather than fighting each other.
Yeah, it would, but at the same time, like, there's not too much left in the race, so like if you want to go for a move, you should do it quite soon also. So it's don't think at this point in time Bolden's thinking about the move that should he wait or a little bit more and then do it, because there's only just over 5 minutes to go at this point. You gotta think that go for the move whenever there's an opportunity for that. So also Natty is awfully close on fuel, but maybe they just counted it right, but they don't really have a lot of fuel left. Like, that's what, less than 10%, so
that's a lot of fuel that is missing from that car. That is not enough to do another 2 laps, I don't think. That being said, Squishy is also incredibly low. Maynard is incredibly low. Alvarado has nearly a quarter of a tank left.
Maybe they just counted it right, but I mean, looks like every LMP driver has to do well, it's close to, they have to do 4 more laps. They have to do at least 3 more. Wait, so it's gonna be okay, they need to do 3 more laps with this tank, so that's what I'm counting. 4 minutes 20, yeah, they
Squishy commits to the pit lane. Squishy is committed to the pit lane to take the fuel on board.
That's unfortunate. He's under fuel slightly. Yeah, that's really silly to do, I have to say. Like, obviously it's some kind of a calculation error, but that's really not what you want to do here, to take a little bit too little fuel on board to make it until the end. So
and that's exactly what Squishy has done. He's not bothered changing the tyres. He has just taken fuel on board for enough to get him to the end of this race.
Yeah, I don't know how much fuel he used here per lap, but I do wonder if he would have been better off to stay out and fuel save a little bit. Obviously he would have sacrificed like 2 places, but now at the same time he's behind Big Mac and probably not able to go for a P7 here, so so I do wonder if he could have fuel saved enough, but as I said, I'm not entirely sure how much fuel these cars use. So.
And that's a half-second penalty as well for Squishy. That really has affected his race now. The next person to probably commit to the pit lane is going to be Alex Natty, driving for P1. Natty is extremely low on fuel, and I am not convinced that what he has left in that car is enough to make it to the end of this race.
I think that's unless it's too little. He won't. That could get him around one more lap, but can't quite see him making two laps with that amount of fuel. So he probably also has to pit. Crucial for him, he has to pit probably fuel probably less than Squishy.
Yeah.
So if
there's
now
Natty,
when it comes
he
to
is
the
in the pit lane.
Yeah, I feel like he possibly needs to fuel less than Squishy, and then he'll be able to maybe come out ahead of him. But we'll see here how it's gonna pan out. Yeah, again, a bit of a strategy error there, taking too little fuel on the last stop he did. But at the same time, if he did take the fuel on board on the first safety car we had, it's understandable that you're right now very close to the limit, and yeah.
Natty
I guess obviously the thing he should have done is to take more fuel on board on the previous safety car. So.
Natty has just taken a splash of fuel, and he's done the exact same as Squishy. He's come out 1.4 seconds behind Squishy on the timing. The next person to blink might possibly be Maynard, or even the race leader Timgren, because both are starting to run just that little bit low on fuel.
I think Maynard is gonna able to make a penalty in the end with fuel saving, and Timgren as well, but he probably has to fuel save a little bit on the last lap, because he's gonna only do one more lap here, so I think that's just enough. Maynard has more fuel, he has enough, so yeah. But it was very close. I feel like, you know, the second safety car, like some drivers were able to use a little bit less fuel and some a little bit more, or then it's about the amount of fuel they put in the car, because yeah, couple drivers got a little bit too close for comfort with the fuel and had to do an extra pit stop as a result, so unfortunate for them.
Timgren is on the last lap now on timing. He is not going to stop again. The question is, will the fuel that he's got in the car be enough? As Alvarado has squeaked his way past, by Maynard. Alvarado still P3 currently as things stand. Bolden 3.2 seconds back, not close enough to be a factor just yet.
Yeah, race gonna finish on this lap, so Alvarez really needs to go for a move soon, because otherwise he's gonna finish P3.
And there's the final lap indicator. There will not be any more laps after this, as Alvarez swings to the left, clears Maynard in the traffic. There's a half-second track limit penalty there for Alvarez. That might lose him the position at the end of this race at the line. But Maynard has lost nearly a second. This is not over yet. Maynard is pushing that car to the absolute limit of what it can do to try and stay within the gap that he needs to Alvarez.
Ah, yeah, it's true, it's 1 second, because he doesn't serve it on this lap. Now that's gonna be interesting.
Maynard, that gap now at 1 second, 1.2 seconds. Is it enough for Alvarez to hang on to P2? It is. The gap at 1.4 seconds is enough for Maynard to finish behind Alvarez. Bolden P4, Furrow P5, Big Mac P6, Squishy P7, Natty P8, Johto wins GTD, JDC P2, retaining the championship lead in GTD, Husky P3, Vipers P4, Roxy P5 in GTD, Oreo P6 in GTD, Outcast, the last car coming to the line now in GTD. And the tyres absolutely screaming for mercy at this point.
Yes, I said he did probably a mistake by not going to the pits there on the second safety car, and then probably maybe had an extra piece up as well, not sure, so that's what happened there. Yeah, fairly interesting race. Sadly we didn't get the rain, but yeah, still some interesting battles here in this race.
Yeah, that was a fantastic end to the race. The safety cars definitely were a contributing factor to that fantastically close ending that we've seen.
Yeah, I do agree with that, because otherwise we would have had possibly a bit of a lull in sometime in the second half, because yeah, then everyone has done their pit stop and then it just, there are gaps and that's it. Like, but yeah, certainly brought up the pack really close to one another and made it interesting.
That was a superb finish to that race. Absolutely fantastic from all the drivers.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Interesting one for sure. I probably won't be co-commentating next week. I'm possibly doing the next 2 rounds, so we'll see how I can do in the races.
It will certainly be interesting with the closeness of the pack and the way these safety cars produce such close racing. The system clearly is working as intended now that it's been optimised for this round. And yeah, a fantastic race for all of the drivers. I think at this point it'll be time to end the stream, and thank you all very much for watching, for everyone in chat. I will see you in a week's time for the next... Or no, I apologise, not a week's time, 2 weeks' time for the next round. We are taking a week off next weekend again for DES for their World Endurance Championship.
Wasn't it that we did move Joe to next week, the Spa, but then the week after that we're having a week off?
I am not sure. I will check the Discord. We are taking next weekend off. So we will be back on the 26th of October with more World Endurance Racing action. I hope to see you then. Goodbye.